Steve, come on up.
Sure.
So we'll just go, Andrew Toons is my name, CEO of Alpine Energy. I'm just going to invite Steve West, the CEO, Managing Director of ChargeNET, just to say a few words as to why he specifically is standing here and where he's off to after this. Then we'll invite Deputy Mayor Richard Lyons to say a few words, and I'll come in at the rear and tell you all the good stories about why Alpine Energy's got involved. So, Steve, over to you.
Sure. So, yeah, I'm here in two roles. So primarily, I'm on a road trip from Cape Reinga to Bluff. A number of us are driving electric vehicles just to prove, in a lot of ways, just to show that you can. It's really important to demonstrate that electric vehicles can travel long distances in New Zealand, even without really very much in the way of infrastructure. But it's really only possible because we're taking it quite slow. We're stopping at a lot of towns along the way and demonstrating the cars to people, getting bums in seats. That's absolutely essential. We have to get people in the cars and drive them around and demonstrate what it's like. Because electric vehicles are amazing, but it's hard to realise that without actually having that experience. And the other part I have to play today is to help unveil the station, because I happen to also be the CEO of a company that sells these stations here in New Zealand and runs a network across the country. So that's ChargeNET New Zealand. But it's really, really great that Andrew and his team have taken a forward-thinking leadership role and putting a couple of stations in well ahead of the curve, long before anyone else has in the area. And I'd like to hand over to the Deputy Mayor to say a few words as well.
Thanks, Steve. Pleasure to be here. Look, I was just standing there thinking, this is something like science fiction when I was a kid, and here it is, reality.
Yeah.
An electric car, amazing stuff. And along those lines, as I was driving in, I was thinking about the innovation that's involved, in having electric vehicles, and thinking about our local innovator from past times, Richard Pearce, and the reality of what he would think about coming in here today and having a look at what's going on the corner of Victoria and North Street. He would be fascinated by this innovation. So we've got a history of innovation around here, and we're pleased to be, as a community, to be involved in this forward-thinking step. And we thank Andrew and his team from Alpine for instigating this move and giving our community the opportunity to be at the leading edge, as you say, Steve, of this technology. So applaud that in all sorts of ways, and as car lovers, I'm sure you're thinking about the future and the things you might do in the future. So it's just wonderful stuff. Reducing the footprint as we go through this world and live our lives is a wonderful thing to do. So that's something to be embraced. So really, that's really all I'll do. I've got bits and pieces there, and that's quite enough. So thank you very much, and we're going to do something whatever time. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, Richard. So why did Alpine Energy get involved? Well, we have been for some time looking at the global move towards electric vehicles, and then wondering how will that affect our local electricity infrastructure. Alpine Energy's core business is poles and wires and the transportation of electrons. So we thought, gosh, if all of a sudden half of the residents or a quarter of the residents of South Canterbury have an electric vehicle and are plugging in somewhere to charge up using directly or indirectly Alpine's infrastructure, that may have a significant change to the load profile on our network. So we wanted to understand what that load profile might look like. And there are international papers on the subject, to Africa. So we started studying some of those, what had been the impact of networks around the world, getting an understanding from a desktop point of view of what it might mean if you then chunk it down into South Canterbury size. Then we went out and we made the bold move, well, let's buy one. So we bought a second-hand Japanese Nissan Leaf, and we brought it into the country, must be close to 3 years ago now. And I remember Martin getting very excited because he saw it driving around the town, and at that stage he thought he was the only Nissan Leaf driver in Timaru. But little did he know we had been by stealth driving around in our little unbranded silver one for some time. It's been driven by a staff member. They plug it into their house where we've got all sorts of smart gadgetry, and so from that sample size of one, which isn't an ideal sample size, but with all the literature that we've got from around the world, a sample size of 1, we could start seeing consumer behaviour in terms of when they plugged it in, how long it was plugged in for, the impact it would have on the low voltage network, and then running some scenarios to take it up to a high voltage scenario, low profile. So a lot of very valuable data that we're gathering from that. And I guess then the extension of that is we put what's called an AC charger in at our site at Alpine wash dyke. We have that there for when the vehicle comes onto our site, it can be charged up during the day. But that charging takes around about 4 to 5 hours, depending on how discharged the battery is. So that's a fairly long time to wait if you've got to go to a meeting across town in an hour's time. You might not have enough juice to get there. So this whole issue around range anxiety has been discussed, and so to address range anxiety, it was thought to have charging stations at intervals where you could travel so far, stop for a coffee or a rest break. So there's a health and safety part of this as well, driver reviver and all those good things about refreshing your driver on your journey. Plug in your vehicle. If it's a little Nissan Leaf like Martin's and ours, 15 minutes, you're 80% charged and you're on your way again. So to deal with range anxiety, and given that it's linked to our core business of electrons and electricity, we made the decision that we would invest in at least a couple of these units. That's when I came across Steve, and I was really blown away and taken by, ignore that, that's a fossil fuel driver. Right? I was really blown away by Steve's foresight in national coverage and his passion for EVs and I guess all things electric. And so there were some common denominators in there between Steve's thinking and my thinking. I remember the first time we met, we looked across the table, not really know if we could trust each other, but actually we soon found out that there was a shared passion there for these, and so we partnered with ChargeNET. That's why you'll see the dual branding on this when the cover comes down. We bought out units from ChargeNET. ChargeNET is the main face to the customer when they come and charge up. They'll have a little thing called an RF tag or an app on a phone. You key in your details into the unit and it charges up and your account gets debited. So we partnered with ChargeNET to make this happen. We've got one here today in Waimate. We've got one in Timaru. We've got one in Waimate. That's also been commissioned yesterday, and it's just really good to actually start seeing it happening. We're also looking at other locations around South Canterbury. They're just in the being considered stage at this point. And so when we got that common passion with Steve, I went to the local councils and said we'd like to make that happen in the regions, and by the way we've got a few weeks to do it because this roadshow is coming through town, and both councils were tremendous in their support, absolutely tremendous. We had another location here in Timaru. We couldn't quite get there in time with the time frame that we had, but Dave Sutton, who's Alpine project manager there, made it all happen, and the work that Dave put into it and Boy here for the financial analysis was tremendous, and literally within a couple of weeks you now see one standing behind us and one down in Waimate. So really exciting journey, and I'm glad to be part of it. And now what I'd like to do is invite Deputy Mayor Richard Lyons and CEO of ChargeNET Steve West to officially open and unveil our ChargeNET, the FastNet charging station here in Timaru. Gentlemen, please. So one goes on each side. Yeah. All the cameras ready? Videos ready?
Which way are we going to pull it?
What do we? A plan move? Your one
Backwards or
backwards? Your call.
Backwards.
Backwards.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Excellent. Now I want a photo too.